We have a major Juan Soto to the Toronto Blue Jays update as multiple reports have come out revealing some very interesting details surrounding Soto and what his decision is looking like as we approach the winter meetings in early December. So to break that down in this episode, as well as discuss a Bo Bichette trade update. There's some news on that front, and it's a little bit interesting as Ross Atkins spoke out about Bo Bichette and his future in Toronto. So stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. If you're a part of the percentage you aren't subscribed to the channel, it's the place to be for daily Jays content, especially now as the offseason is underway and it's ramping up very fast. You're going to want to hit that subscribe button. But there's a lot to go over today. And obviously, as we enter this offseason and the offseason is underway now, there's a lot of different targets the Toronto Blue Jays are going after. And obviously the big fish here is Juan Soto. And it's at the point of the offseason where a bunch of rumors are going to be going down, a bunch of reports are going to be coming out, all these different things surrounding the team. And we got an update surrounding the Blue Jays and Juan Soto. So you can see it here, and there's a bunch of different ones. We'll start with this. So this was 2 hours ago from Bob Nightingale. So while there's not a team in baseball who wouldn't desire Soto, baseball executives believe the finalists for his services will be the Yankees, the Mets, the Toronto Blue Jays, and the San Francisco Giants. The Jays appear to be the popular dark horse candidate. And if this rings any bells, it's because, well, it's very similar to the Shohei Ohtani stuff. It started off as the Jays weren't really in the mix, and then they started to get in the mix as the free agency approached, and then, they became the dark horse favorite, and then they became the favorite, and then they ultimately didn't get Shohei Ohtani. But again, there's going to be a lot of different speculation at this point, but this is very intriguing because Bob Nightingale, he's been hit or miss. He's been, up and down. He was one of the guys during the Shohei Ohtani situation who said he wasn't in Toronto and that the Jays, decision wasn't made, and he was right about that. But you see Alex Cicero here, he says, can't believe we're going to do this again. Best way to approach it, expect nothing, be pleasantly surprised if Soto does choose the Blue Jays. I feel like that's how most fans are kind of going about it at this point. But it's interesting that they named the finalists Yankees, Mets, Jays, and Giants. And reports have come out from Mark Feinston and a bunch of different other insiders basically saying the Mets and the Giants, or the Mets and the Yankees, are the two guys and the two teams that are most likely to be the final two for Juan Soto. But he does mention the Blue Jays. And again, Jays keep getting mentioned. This is a different article from a couple days ago from John Heyman. One mystery team in Soto Derby revealed. It was, of course, the Rays. But he has the Jays ranked as the 4th most likely team to land Juan Soto. The Yankees see them as the 2nd biggest obstacle after the Mets because they're skeptical Soto would go to the West Coast. And that's one of the bigger things here is that Juan Soto, report came out that basically he's not interested in going to a West Coast team, or he's ideally not interested in going to a West Coast team. It, of course, depends on how much money is going to be spent by these teams, but that would, in theory, take the Dodgers at least further down the list of possible teams that Juan Soto is going to go to. So when you think about the Dodgers, they obviously have a bunch of players. I don't think they're going to be going for Juan Soto fully. I think they're going to focus on rebuilding and continuing to build around the World Series team that they just built. So if Soto's not going to the West Coast, then you're kind of stuck with the Yankees, the Mets, and the Blue Jays as the 3 most possible targets for Juan Soto. And the Yankees are obviously favorites at this point. He played there last season. They made the World Series. The Mets, Steve Cohen, offers a ton of money and could potentially offer him more money than all the other teams. At the same time, Rogers also has a ton of money, infinite money, really. And Juan Soto's agent, Scott Boras, said Soto is prioritizing any team owner who is committed to winning with the right amount of money, of course. So, I mean, are the Jays interested in winning and committed to winning? You'd like to think so, but at the same time, they haven't showed much over the past handful of seasons to say that they're a winning team. The question would be, would Juan Soto, unless the Blue Jays give him an absolutely, huge offer for Juan Soto that would involve, maybe $150 million more than the previous team, would Juan Soto have a lot of motivation to join a Toronto Blue Jays team that hasn't won a playoff game with this core? Bo Bichette is in the last year of his contract. Their starting rotation is getting older, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is still not locked up as well. That's the biggest question mark going forward. Would it make sense for the Toronto Blue Jays, or for Juan Soto to join the Toronto Blue Jays in that front? That being said, money speaks the most, and you can make a case that the Jays and the team owner Rogers is committed to winning. That Edward Rogers wants to win. So it's interesting. As you look into their offseason plans ahead here, beyond locking up Guerrero, the Jays need to upgrade their offense in notable ways. Atkins described better right-left balance in the batting order and improve base running as opportunities to improve the run-scoring environment. Atkins suggests a corner outfield was a logical place, such as an add, and outside of Soto, of course, Anthony Santander. There's been some other ones as well. Teoscar Hernandez, whose market's going to be fierce following his World Series run. So it's at the point now where it's like they want to lock up Guerrero, and all reports are pointing to the Toronto Blue Jays locking up Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And if that happens, then the case for the Toronto Blue Jays and their team owner being committed to winning, which is what Juan Soto and his agent are looking for, grows bigger and bigger. And I think it makes more and more sense for the Toronto Blue Jays and Juan Soto if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is extended. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to be up to Juan Soto. And throughout this entire, race in the final, once they get down to the final few teams, Juan Soto, it's always going to be the Yankees and the Mets as the favorites, and the Blue Jays are going to be the dark horse candidate for the foreseeable future. And they'll probably end up being the third option for Juan Soto once he picks the Mets or the Yankees. But there's still some optimism around the team, and we all know how good Juan Soto is and can be. Like, if there's a player to give all the money in the world to, it would be Shohei Ohtani or Juan Soto. Now, if that starts with a 7 for $700 million, that might be a bit of a tough bargain, but ultimately, it's going to be interesting to see what Juan Soto does the options that he has, where Juan Soto goes going forward surrounding the offseason. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. And a new report came out from Ross Atkins. He basically said that the Jays have no interest in trading Bo Bichette, and that's another big question of the offseason, was the future of Bo Bichette in Toronto. And the Blue Jays won't trade Bo Bichette at a discount after he posted a 600 OPS this year. Ross Atkins told me he's very much a part of our plans. He's going to be one of the better players in the game. He has been over portions of his career. So it's kind of at the point now where it's like, we know they want to extend Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and the question was, would they be able to go ahead and extend Bo Bichette? Would they choose to extend Bo Bichette? Would they maybe trade Bo Bichette now that he doesn't seem too happy in Toronto? But then obviously halfway through the year, towards the end of the year, he came out and said he wants to win a World Series with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So a bunch of different things are coming out surrounding it, and the biggest question was, hey, will Bo Bichette want to get traded? And will the Blue Jays consider trading Bo Bichette? Ross Atkins came out and said, nope, they're not going to trade him, which makes sense because they're trying to build a winning team next year. And it kind of aligns with what some of the other moves are going to make are. If they, obviously Bo Bichette has a year similar to his, 2023 and 2022. Puts up a 4 WAR. That's another 4 wins added. You add a guy like Anthony Santander. You improve your bullpen. Then you can start to see how the Jays probably need to add around 12 more wins to get where they want to be and get in the playoff hunt again. So if they're going to do that, they're going to need to make some other additions in the form of a guy like Santander. Bo Bichette going back to what Bo Bichette was. So all these reports are trending towards that direction. So even if you strike out on a guy like Juan Soto, you're still be in a very good spot going forward if you can extend Vladdy and maybe even extend Bo, depending how it goes this year. And we know that the Jays, you can see here, they're entering the winter with an aggressive mindset because, again, they haven't won a playoff series since 2016. So it's very interesting. We hope that the Blue Jays are going to make some big moves going forward, because whether that's Juan Soto, whether that's some other guys like they're mentioned and being linked to Anthony Santander, it's going to be heating up, and it's going to be heating up fast. And I think the first order of business is extending Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and figuring out what you're going to do with Bo Bichette. And it seems like all signs, according to Ross Atkins, are pointing to the Toronto Blue Jays keeping the shortstop, because ultimately, at the end of the day, he's probably the cornerstone of your team, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., that is. But Bo Bichette also, if he has a great season and he goes into the offseason and they let him go for nothing, that might be a waste of an asset. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on the Soto stuff, the Bo Bichette stuff, the Vladdy stuff, as well as the Anthony Santander info. A lot of stuff going down right now. Thank you guys for watching. See you soon.